Hi there, and welcome back to the Energy Sector Heroes podcast. My name is Michelle Fraser, and every week I will speak with incredible people who share their lessons, experiences, and stories from their time spent in the energy sector. Hi there, and welcome back again to this week's show. If you're new to the show, then please take a second to subscribe and even consider sharing the show with just one other person. This week I am joined by Susan Nash. Susan is the Director of Science and Technology. Susan, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Oh, sure. Thanks. It's an honor to be here and a lot of fun. So I'm Director of Innovation, Emerging Science and Technology at the American Association of Petroleum Geologists. And despite the name American, it's actually global. And despite the name Petroleum, we actually cover the anything that's like subsurface energy. So that includes geothermal and lithium and geologic hydrogen, all sorts of things.
That sounds amazing. But you also work as a Director of Education. That must be amazing.
Well, that was the previous title, and then and then 2015 we reorganized, and so my job expanded. So I do get involved in the education part, although we don't do as many like formal short courses as we used to, and we do some certificates, but we've kind of bundled a lot of things into. We have webinars that we call APG Academy, and we have lots of workshops and conferences and things that have content.
Okay, that sounds quite amazing. So you must work a lot with the younger graduates then.
I do. There aren't that many, I will say, anymore, compared to, say, 10 years ago or 15 years ago when there was something of a boom in the energy industry, in exploration, especially in petroleum and natural gas. But there's still quite a bit of interest, especially in some of the deep water discoveries off the coast of Africa and also South America, and also the deep water Gulf of Mexico. I don't think there's some activity in the North Sea, but not as much as there used to be.
Okay.
And then so students get involved in that, and then also like geothermal, et cetera.
Okay. Why do you think that there's a reduction in students coming into the energy sector?
The lack of jobs. It's pretty simple. I think when we're looking at the shale boom that went from about 2006 to about 2014, there were massive numbers of jobs because of the massive amount of drilling and exploration. Also, there was the new boom in ultra deep water discoveries offshore. So with the collapse of prices, then followed by COVID, and then the collapse of commodities prices, the companies started finding it uneconomic, and a lot of them merged or went bankrupt, et cetera. And consolidation is still going on. So ironically, a lot of people are leaving the industry, leaving geology, leaving energy because of they're aging out. And there's a kind of a bimodal distribution of population. So in the sector, so you have the people who graduated from, say, 2005 to 2016, and then it dropped off, went off a cliff. And now you have a few more. And so what that means is there are jobs, but they tend to be in things where you have to be really flexible, and you have to have a good understanding of the subsurface and be willing to look at everything. Like we have subsurface energy, but also energy storage, CCUS, et cetera, big projects, things that require people to understand geology in the subsurface.
Okay. But I thought that because of the everything that's going on in the energy sector just now, that there would be more people willing to come into it and try to get jobs in it because of the net zero, and we still need the technology. Obviously, we still need people to work in the oil industry as well.
You'd think so. There are, and people are recruiting, but getting to net zero, I mean, there are a lot of different new areas. For example, there are a lot of environmental jobs that have to do with with say finding orphan wells and abandoned wells or decommissioning wells that are leaking. So detecting methane leaks, plugging wells. And there's also a lot of work in trying to make sure that any operations are as leak-free as possible, emissions-free as possible.
Okay. But then do you think that if there was more jobs, that then more people would come in, more younger people would come into the energy sector? Is it really just that simple?
No, it's not that simple because people would go into the energy sector, I think, depending on what they're doing. If there's a sense that it's going to be stable, and also that they're not going to be, there's not kind of some kind of negative connotation as being damaging to the climate. And right now, what we're really trying to do is doing everything possible to reduce methane footprints, go to carbon footprint, going to uh, trying to help companies do net zero compliance, et cetera. At the same time, the types of jobs have changed a lot. So there's not as much need for people to be in, say, exploration as there is for operations. And then that means a lot of automation, lots of understanding of data analytics, et cetera.
Okay. Is that a big difference then?
Well, I think in my mind, it's not that different in the sense that even when I started out as a geologist, I really didn't go out into the field and do primary geology in the field to explore for minerals or oil and gas. I mean, I did some, but it was mainly to understand the analogs, the present day analogs to say depositional systems or things like that. But I didn't do that to find the actual oil and gas. I used data. So I used seismic of all sorts, production data, well log data, on and on. So it's just that the main ways of managing data, ingesting data, storing data have changed. And the software programs obviously have changed.
Yeah, but then that's just, is that not like an evolutionary change as technology has become available though?
True. Yeah.
But are they actually teaching those things in the university or because
Well, yes, it depends on which university you go to. The University of Oklahoma, they've always had the ability to get licenses for different map making processes and for analyzing data and for doing different processes with seismic data, et cetera, visualization, et cetera.
okay. So what do you think that the main challenges that the young graduates face when they leave uni, other than getting jobs?
I think that in order to get a job, one's focus kind of aligns with a specific niche in the industry that one thinks that they want to go into. So, for example, let's say in the University of Oklahoma, somebody wants to go into geothermal, they will go into the petroleum engineering school and focus on, well, be the petroleum engineering school with the geothermal emphasis. And the idea is, well, when they get out, they can work with initiatives for developing geothermal. And there are quite enormous numbers of things going on right now in there with using new technologies and new approaches. Essentially using oil and gas drilling and completion technologies in geothermal. So then if you want to get a job in something else, you're going to have to show that you're broader than just that. And so it's really good to at least get certificates or show competencies and get some experience, hands-on experience with things like business analytics, doing business development, doing data analytics for understanding really the foundation models used in developing large language models, things like that that keep you up to date so you can be part of a team and contribute cutting edge stuff to that team.
Okay, but then is that easy to do for the young graduates?
I would say it's easier than ever because, for example, to learn about large language models and foundational models, you can sign up for certificate programs that cost little or nothing, and also start being an kind of doing your kind of do it yourself DIY approach, where you learn about something and then contact somebody and work as an informal team member. Could be volunteer or something, but something that's resume building.
Okay, but then that would be okay to volunteer. You mean like a summer placement as well?
Well, I think a summer placement would be good, but ideally that would be paid. But I'm just talking about, say, having a research project and you're working with people.
Okay, but is there a many research projects going available actually?
Okay, in the US, there are a number of research projects that are funded by the Department of Energy and also and almost all of them it's easy to get in touch with the principal investigator. Just contact them and say, hey, I'm really interested in this. Would it be okay if I'm sort of a student volunteer and I can attend a few meetings? I can maybe do some stuff with you guys, but at least I find out what's going on.
Okay, because when I was at university, which was a long time ago, I would have never have thought about doing that.
I don't know. I've always been kind of weird like that. But I even started in high school doing the little research projects and it always helped. And even nobody really expects you the level of expectation in terms of your results is not very high if you're young, but at least you're learning something. So the results are not as important as the process and the
Okay,
contacts that you make.
okay, I agree. So how do you go about getting yourself on one of these research projects?
Well, again, I think do some research online in the area that you're interested in. Say, for example, if you're interested in lithium in brine mining or lithium extraction from, I know in England, I guess in Cornwall, there's a lot going on. Just do a little research and see what's government sponsored. Contact the principal investigator and the people that are listed and say you'd like to know something or like to participate or be involved in some level, and then see do a literature review. If you're still a student, you'll have access to your online databases. So go to some place like Science Direct or Elsevier, Wiley Science Direct or Elsevier Publications, and just do a lit review and start doing things like that. And also consider participating in a conference or workshop. Usually the student rate's really, really low, and that will help. And then also publish some of the lit reviews on LinkedIn and make them available as an article.
Okay, I did it because I am on LinkedIn, and there is quite a more young graduates going on LinkedIn. They're not
Mm-hmm.
very active, but they do have profiles. Is it important? Is it important for the younger engineers, geologists, students, I should say, to be active on LinkedIn?
Yes, definitely. Because that's where you make contacts. So be careful. Not everybody's who they say, not everybody's what they seem to be. Most people are, but there are some that I don't know, they aren't really. But by being proactive, joining a few groups, but setting up, having some contacts in areas that are interesting to you, then putting together posts that link to different articles. You say, oh, I found some interesting things. Look at this, and it's in your area of interest. Then tag people. Then that'll build up, and you'll start getting people in your contacts in your area of interest. I would say that you can do an article, which is good because you can always find it, but always just make a post about it. It's shorter, and then link to your article, and that will have more views.
Okay. So even when you're just starting your university, you should be on your LinkedIn blogging your progress of how you're getting on with your university studies.
I wouldn't necessarily talk about how you're getting on with the university studies, but just say, this is a very interesting area. Let's go back to the lithium concept. Say, okay, well, in Cornwall, there is lithium. Well, also in the Smackover Formation in Arkansas, like, why is that? And like, here are some interesting new developments. And then maybe point to the technology, like, so people are using this direct lithium extraction, just little things, little news snippets. And that's a really good way to start, just interest snippets.
Okay. Okay. But then some of the younger generation might be, I mean, because I remember when I started my LinkedIn and social media journey, it's actually quite nerve-wracking to post your first couple of things, because you might be maybe worried about how other people are going to perceive you, but how
I think, okay, essentially by starting that, you're kind of a reaction channel. Like you're not stating anything new or creating any new content. You're just aggregating and sharing. So, so I think that the idea of being a kind of a curator or aggregator, but not over the top, just one little article or whatever. I think it's a pretty benign place. I mean, I would stay away from anything controversial or anything political for sure.
okay. So they need to get writing on LinkedIn. That's good advice.
Yeah, thinking about how to be useful and thinking about your audience. Who do you want the audience to be? Do you want the audience to be potential employers who are saying, "Hey, it'd be really nice to have somebody who's so good at researching and maybe, if they have access to an article I don't want to pay for, here's a couple sentence précis about it, and then the link or the reference." That's like super, super helpful.
Okay. Okay. I would have never had thought about doing that. No.
It's a little bit nerdy. I agree, but it's like, let's say you want to be hired by somebody who wants you to be on the team because they see you have good research skills, you know how to think and analyze and synthesize and communicate and work with people. I mean, that is pretty desirable.
Do you think so? What else?
Yeah.
What other skills for new graduates do you think would be considered desirable to potential employers?
I think a good foundational knowledge if you're interested in subsurface geology, but also really good foundational knowledge of physics and math because of the importance of things like structural. Well, okay, it depends on what area you want to go into. But if you want to analyze, for example, borehole integrity or analyze what's going on in the subsurface and you're worried about what happens if you pump fluid into a reservoir, you'll need to know about geomechanics, et cetera. So then you can go on the more technical side. However, if you're more interested in the promotional side and the business side, et cetera, learn about how business decisions are made and business decision making. I'm not sure if it's necessary to get an MBA, but learn about strategic planning, strategic decision making, that type of thing.
Okay. But do you think that after you leave university with your degree, all very excited to get into the workspace, that maybe your learning stops?
No, my gosh, no, it totally just starts. Oh my gosh. Okay, so my personal journey. After I graduated with my PhD, I totally I started realizing I was working as the director of, well, no, I was at St. Gregory's University, and they had hired me to be in charge of a program that was for kind of a learning lab, et cetera. Well, this was at the beginning of online learning. I mean, things are just beginning. And so, it was like in the very late 90s. And so I got super interested in how to develop online programs and courses, and just jumped in and started getting involved in that. And I learned so much by going ahead and taking courses on instructional design, instructional technology, but it was all just totally evolving. And there really weren't any programs at that point, even if I had wanted to get a degree or something in instructional design, distance learning. There was only the kind of distance learning that was correspondence or telecourse or whatever. So it was wonderful. And so I ended up turning into a job where the University of Oklahoma, I was director of online learning curriculum and worked with subject matter experts and worked with the IT people. And it was just, but I thought of what do we need? What does our organization need? What do our students need? Let's jump in. And then later, I've always been interested in different cultures and economics. When I diversified into that, it was in developmental. And so opportunities came around to apply for grants and contracts with USAID and State Department and World Bank to deliver subject matter expertise to different countries. So, okay, cool. So how do we do this? And so I had to learn how to build teams, figure out how to get the teams over there, just manage the projects, et cetera. And I don't have a degree in project management. I had to learn all that. And it was wonderful and fun. And I also had to overcome a lot of prejudice and misinformation that I had. Like, for example, ended up going to Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan and a lot. And I had to overcome misconceptions about former Soviet Union mindsets. And that was super interesting. And I ended up learning some Russian, didn't know Russian before, I didn't study Russian. And then also I got very interested in Paraguay, long story why, but I did spend a lot of time studying Spanish, but I had to learn a lot about the history and the people and the mindsets. And it really helped to learn the language. I had to improve my language skills and so I mean, could go on and on, but learning just starts. The college prepares you to be able to learn and to be able to organize your knowledge and to be able to analyze situations and to problem solve.
Okay. Yeah, because I think a lot of some students they all enjoy their university life as you should as well. Maybe first time being away from home and things like that. But then a lot of this pressure's put on about getting high marks and getting their exams passed. So maybe some people are overlooking how to solve problems.
Oh, okay. So nobody likes that part. But the thing is, when I was working on my dissertation, I always thought, nothing's worthwhile without its quote hazing process. And they suffering. I'm not a fan of hazing, obviously, but I'm just saying that you have to go through sort of the dark night of the soul and to learn about your limits and learn how to overcome anxiety and ambiguity and manage your time and deal with your own frustrations, with your inability to manage your time or the things that come in to interrupt things. Those are all very valuable. And it's incredibly important. And you don't even know really what you're capable of yet.
Okay. How do you mean you don't think you really know what you're capable of?
Okay, so getting a degree has a lot of set goal setting, the concrete assignments, things that you have to manage and learn, and exams and papers and all that. So you think that, you feel comfortable with that type of goal and that type of work, that type of structure. But anything that's not that well defined, you may not know that you can manage it.
Okay. But then, I mean, obviously, after being at university and then graduating and then getting your first job, it is significantly different.
It is a lot different. I remember well, I had summer jobs, and then I remember my first full-time job. It was in Amarillo, Texas. And I worked for Diamond Shamrock, and I was a geologist. And I remember there were moments where I thought, I just don't even have any slight clue on what they want me to do, how I'm supposed to do this. They're sending me these schools. I still don't know how to put all this together. And my dad was a geologist, and I would call him and say, Daddy, I don't understand this. And he would calm me down because I was expecting myself to understand everything all at once and see the big picture. And and he was saying, well, these are just little tools, or just different ways of talk to people who understand. I wouldn't go as far as to call it a formal mentor, friend, or something who's been through the ropes, been through it, knows the ropes.
Okay. It's important to have mentors then when you're just out of university.
I think so, or good advice, good friends. If you tell somebody, "Oh, you're my mentor," they'll run away from you because it's a lot of pressure. But if you say, like if you think of a trusting relationship with someone who has experience, and you go out and talk, and also being able to understand the workplace dynamics and what people actually expect is really important too.
Okay. Okay. I totally agree as well, because I think the company, your corporate dynamics of your company is quite important to realize.
Oh, totally. And one of the things I learned pretty quickly is that it's like you're living in an aquarium. And if somebody drops a rock in the aquarium, the ripples are going to be everywhere. Think of your words as that rock. And so whenever people start, you have to bond, and people, chit chat and they'll express anxiety and say mean things and stuff. But don't let yourself get into that. Always say really positive, glowing things about people that are not there. And those glowing things will get back to them. And that will be better than going along with somebody who has some sort of personal animus with somebody. Just
Yeah,
say nothing, or say something really glowing.
yeah, and it can be really easy to get caught up in all the negativity of work as well.
It is. It's kind of, full of thrill of expressing yourself, and going apocalyptic with it. But it's ultimately probably not a good idea.
No, I don't think so. It's important to keep away from that type of situation.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Totally important. And then think about the positive outcome, and then think about how you can help people achieve their goals. Think about your how you can be helpful to everyone.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. I think you should always have your supervisors or your bosses back to make sure that that you're doing what will make their job easier as well.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but that could be quite a big task for a new graduate to even comprehend to do.
It is. It really is. It is. And it can be terrifying.
No, it can't be. So do you have any advice about how they can go about doing that successfully then?
I'd say the first thing is keep calm. Think of all the skills you developed in school to organize your time and prioritize your tasks. And then keep those in mind, make a little list, and make sure that you've really understand what's expected of you. And then be willing to ask clarifying questions about what's really expected of you. And chances are your first job, you're not there's not that much that's going to be expected of you. But the first job, you'll have a certain task, like you'll need to contact people, or you'll need to be in charge of this or that scheduling or doing research or something, but do it well. And also be sure to, again, get to know your colleagues and be supportive of everyone.
Yeah.
Unless there's a toxic person, and then just stay away. Don't try to win them over. Just stay away from them.
Yeah, no. But then sometimes if you're quite, yeah, sometimes if you're quite younger, it can be hard to spot them type of job.
It totally is. It totally is. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've fallen into that trap before.
Yeah, I think we all have actually. To be,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I do. So you've had a lot of achievements in your career. Which has been your favorite?
I don't know about achievements, but I've had a lot of changes in my career where I've had to diversify. And so I've had the opportunity to diversify often, thanks to economic crashes and changes. And I'd say, I don't know, it's really hard to say. I loved being kind of a pioneer in doing things online, being kind of a team where we're doing something fresh and new. And then in my recent job, I really like my current job, I really enjoy finding out what the new technologies or areas are that are emerging, and then finding the experts and getting that knowledge, organizing it, and getting it out to people. And then on a very personal level, I've really enjoyed learning about different cultures and through literature and film and through like translating in from Spanish to English. I just love it. I don't talk about it a lot, but I live for that.
I do. Yeah, that sounds amazing. So, do you find it easy to diversify?
I find it necessary. I mean, even if I wanted to stay doing the same thing, the changing world would compel me to diversify. But in terms of, is it easy to change over? There are certain areas I find more interesting than others. And so it's easier if I'm interested, if I'm intrinsically motivated. If I'm kind of like a little bit revolted by the topic or the process, there's no amount of motivation that can make me feel excited about it.
Okay, so is it important to do something to work at something you're excited about?
Yes, I think so. Or find some aspect of it. Yes.
Okay, because there is quite a lot. There is quite a lot, unfortunately, that maybe are not so passionate about their job.
Well, I mean, okay, so I've had consulting jobs where I found the job so boring that all I would do is think about, okay, after this is over, I'm going to be leaving with a check in my pocket, and I don't have to think about this ever, ever, ever again. so, so there are some advantages to having short part-time jobs that you can try to see what you like and getting some temporary jobs, etc.
Okay, but do you think that when you're newly graduate, that it is important to get the right fit for your first graduate position?
Okay, if you just have one job offer and you really need to work, I would say that you're just going to have to figure out a fit and see how the best you can do it, and then use it as a building block.
Okay, but then say if you have multiple offers. I mean, even when I get multiple offers, I find it very difficult to even decide which way that you should go.
Oh, it's totally confusing. And yeah, you have to look at where the job is going, what it has potential to do. It's not just the numbers, the amount of money, but can you, will it take you someplace that you can grow from, or will you be limited? And then do you feel excited about what you'd be doing day to day? Are you going to be asked to travel to places, or are you asked to I mean, what's your comfort zone and what's your situation at home? You know, if you are being asked to travel a lot and you have responsibility for your family, a family member, whatever, it might be challenging.
Yeah, I totally agree as well. I totally agree.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, even though they might be the nicest ones and they're giving you a lot of, and it sounds exciting, don't set what it's good, important not to set yourself up to fail or feel cognitive dissonance or conflicts, like emotional conflicts.
Okay. Okay, so you think that you should evaluate each job offer before you decide which one you were going to take?
Yes, sleep on it.
Okay. Do you think sleeping on it always does a world of good?
Well, maybe. Sometimes the more you mull, the more confusing it gets.
You think so?
I think so because okay, I've had to turn down offers that sounded really amazing, but I just couldn't get over the fact I would have to move far away, and which was it seemed exciting. I didn't mind traveling there, but actually moving and then given a family situation, it would all be tinged with like fantasy. So I think that writing down what the realities are of something and then how much it does align with what you really are excited about, and is that really likely to happen? And what are the likely outcomes? Like, what are the risks? How can you de-risk it?
Okay. That is amazing advice, actually. That is amazing advice. Yeah, yeah. So I would like to ask you maybe one final question. So I sometimes ask people this. So if you could turn back time, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I give myself a lot of advice. I'd say believe in myself a little bit more. And it was and I talked to my dad a lot, and he was really practical and always supportive. And I'd say listen to supportive people more, and don't listen to the people who are that make you feel bad about yourself or inadequate or you know talk to the people that build on your strengths.
Yeah, and I agree. That's really good advice as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's all the questions I have today. I would like to thank Susan for your time. That brings us to the end of another episode. Thanks for listening and see you next week.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
That brings us to the end of another episode. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, I'd like to gently encourage you to leave a 5-star rating wherever you listen to podcasts and share the show with another person. You can also follow me on LinkedIn or via my website, www.michellefraserconsultancy.com. Thanks again for listening and see you next week.